Hello, and welcome to Unexplained Possibilities Podcast. I'm your host, Melvin the Crimson Taurus, and unfortunately, Neima can't be here with us tonight. But she will be here next month when we have a special guest returning. Ooh, wonder who that could be. So, as you guys already know, I'm not alone on this Saturday night. I'm being joined by two lovely, dark, and mysterious ladies. One you already know fairly well, the other is brand new to the show. Oh, yeah. Ladies, can I get a oh, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Why was yours all seductive? Jesus.
Well, you know me, Mel.
Okay, anyway, yes, these two mysterious ladies are more likely to greet you with a Hail Satan than a bless your soul. You already know the first person I'm speaking of, that Texas witch, Bonnie Woodruff.
Hey guys.
Now, the second person dabbles in magic and the occult, has actual real world knowledge about demonic entities, and is also quite the artist. So, everyone, please welcome aboard Orlee Stewart.
Hey everybody. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Thank you so much for joining. Now, you guys ready for this? This is going to be the first for Unexplained. And
Can't tell.
see if it works. Oh my gosh, it's actually working and Bonnie picked up the cat. Ha ha.
He jumped up. He jumped up, and his tail's like right in my face. So yeah, it happened.
So yes, not only are we are live, but you have a video feed. What?
Yay.
So hopefully the sound and everything is good. You can hear us okay, see us okay. So right now you should be seeing Bonnie, and when Orly
Hero.
speaks, it should jump back and forth and all that good stuff. So now, where do we begin? We have so much to talk about, but so little time. Orly, let's start with you. Who the heck are you?
Hey, I am a entity that exists here among all of you. I like to create artwork in various forms. I make magical videos, and I also am a writer and a painter. My artwork expresses the paranormal events that I've experienced through my life and my ongoing studies in the practices of magic.
And interestingly enough, for some reason, now we're not switching to you as you were speaking. It's stuck on Bonnie, who's playing with the cat.
Oh yeah, that is so weird. Okay.
That's okay because I love cats. So
I know he's like he's kissing me. He's like all. I was thinking we're cool, and he's all kissing me.
Aw.
Oops. Everybody busted me getting my boot.
And Angie K has already said, like, that's brave, petting a ginger cat in a black top.
Oh, he's a sweet boy. He's a sweet boy. Oh, with all the red. Well, it is what it is with him. He's worth all the extra fur.
Oh, that's weird though. I have no idea why it's not switching now. All of a sudden, it just decides, we're not gonna switch.
Well, you know how it goes, Mel. It'll probably start randomly in the middle.
Yeah, we'll see. I've been having a lot of weird interference happen with electronics around me recently, especially lights. Pretty much every day now, if I get stressed about something, the lights are going to start flickering in the room. So this isn't really that big of a shock.
Right, I've sent you the where it happened with me,
Mm-hmm.
Orly. Right. So yeah, I know the feeling. That one's always fun.
Okay, well, more power to you. So I'm gonna try and fix this thing, but in the meantime, Orly, where are you from?
I'm from many places. I grew up in Canada. I'm Canadian technically, and I live now in Virginia.
Now, that to me is shocking that you're Canadian and you got into the occult and everything. Can you take us briefly through how that happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was in high school, I got pretty tired of not being in control over the paranormal experiences that would happen to me. I was seeing entities in my room, I was being tormented by spirits, and I grew up in a pretty religious household, and those kind of things were not validated or considered real. And so I felt pretty crazy. And then one day I saw some bizarre lights out in the sky, and the lights were so bright that it caused me to go over to my window and open the blinds and look outside. It was dark, it was night, and there was this giant orb moving around in the sky, way larger than anything that could have been even the moon or a plane. It was really bizarre, and I took photos of it. I actually still have them from back when I was in high school. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, there must be something more to the world, and I started watching every single video I could find on the internet about aliens and going on any website that I could find, and just absorbing all that material. And the way that I actually got into the occult is one time I was going through watching videos and I found a documentary about Aleister Crowley called The Wickedest Man in the World. And so it's actually kind of amusing considering the whole technological issues we're having right now, because as I was watching the documentary, alone in my room, home alone with the
Should be live again. Um, and of course, when the stream froze, it froze on the cat's butt, basically in the camera.
Okay.
Guys, we're back, and hey, you can see Orlee. They can
Yes, hello.
So,
Hey.
I'm sorry about that. You were telling us how you're originally from Canada and how you were getting into things, and let's take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I ended up becoming part of this magical order for many years, like over a decade, and just intensely studying magic. For a while, I was serving as a priestess in a bunch of different lodges there, and eventually just decided to forge my own path, and started making content and putting it on the internet on my YouTube channel. And from there, I've been able to connect with a lot of really amazing people who are also working on sharing this knowledge with others, because one of the things that I noticed from being part of various magical orders over the years is that there's so much secrecy in the occult, and there's so much secrecy for some reasons that make sense, like because it's dangerous, but in other reasons where people are just trying to keep the power for themselves. So I've always wanted to be able to share that kind of information with people, and because that's what Crowley did, and I was really inspired by what he did, and ever since, I think that was like a really pivotal moment for me when I watched that video that made my computer crash. And it's so funny how the stream crashed shortly after I said that. But yeah. I started incorporating painting as a major aspect of my occult practices, because there's so many things that I've experienced that I can't really explain in words. And so that's a really big part of what I do. And I think I was talking a little bit about that on your show with Bonnie maybe a few months ago.
Yeah. Big time. It's some things that happen that you just don't know how to. You want to find a reason or a logical answer, sometimes so much, and then you kind of get to the point of, okay, well, let's see how we can work this into the other things that we're doing, because right now I know I'm not going to get answers a lot of times. Because some of it it's just not a possibility. But learning how to better, for me, it was much like a lot of learning how to better um, manage what was going on around me. Um, like when you were talking about the lights. Okay, I know that my everything is really my emotions play a part of a lot of stuff that happens, and our emotions, like back in time, and I think this is where some of our ancestors would give us like these little things like watch what you say, watch what you think, watch what you say, because guess what? For me, some of that would actually start happening. I want to see you pay your karma. Well, and if I didn't really mean it, but I meant it at the moment, I would have to feel bad about what I said later on. So I've had to learn how to better handle some situations. I'll just say, yeah. And yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I feel like my journey in the occult has essentially been a series of many mistakes and figuring out how to navigate around that. But like in the greater scheme of things, it's like the macrocosm and the microcosm where we can see these things reflected out in the nature of reality, and the occult really enhances that, especially when we are working with our shadow, because we're really facing that darkness. That's the underlying forces of everything. I became really obsessed with black holes when I was in school, because even though I was at an art university, we had to take some science classes, and so I took an astronomy class, and that's when I became really interested in Andromeda and also in black holes in particular, because at the time when I was researching it, there was a theory that at some point in the far distant history of our galaxy, it's going to collide with Andromeda because they're part of the same common group of like orbital rotation, and it could potentially cause a black hole. So that was sort of how space reintegrated itself into my magical practices. And then when I was working with spirits in general and getting really, really into it, when I had my really intense spiritual awakening process that unfolded over many, many years, but it made me realize that these spirits and aliens are all really alien in nature, and trying to put aliens in a separate category of the spirit world in general is a bit naive, because I think that these things are definitely related.
I agree. I've actually, I remember, because probably a couple of years ago, I had a friend that had come to visit, and he was, okay, kind of like you mentioned, as the best way I could put it is, Tori almost used to use this. She would call herself a recovering Christian, because growing up in that mindset, it can be toxic in some ways, and not for the good. I mean, like, some have the best intentions, so I'm not knocking it, because I know that the people that were around me, they did care, but it was kind of a way to manipulate. Especially when you have a very strong-minded child, that is always going to ask you why to everything. And then when you're in church and they ask why, I remember my dad just covering my mouth because I was like hounding the preacher.
That's so funny that you mentioned that, Bonnie, because so I was in a religious private school growing up, and it got to the point where the teachers like wouldn't call on me when I had my hand up, because they didn't like the questions that I was going to ask. And so I would just sit there with my hand up like the whole class until I couldn't hold it up anymore. Yeah. And then I would just give up. Yeah. And I realized after a while that they were doing that. And then I was like,
no, I love it though, but it does make me feel better, because I remember my dad just like, shush, shush, it's one of those things, because I wanted to know. No, we have bones here that there were dinosaurs, so don't give me some lame. And when you're a and then I wouldn't say, like, when your child is going to question, to me that shows, I'm glad that my kids question everything, because I feel like it shows that they're going to be more intelligent and they're not going to just be fooled and told something and expect it. I will say the one preacher that I've ever had a respect for was one that, when I was living in Dallas and still doing that thing, and he had said, don't trust my word because I'm reading out of a book. I could be making up shit. And he was like, basically, he just didn't say the word shit like I did. He was just like, I could be making up everything and just making you believe every word I'm saying. Look it up and educate yourself. And I was like, I do respect what he just did, because I was really forcing myself to try to believe at that time. And I know I was already over it. You know what I mean? It was just like I was just doing the motions still. And it took me, when I did, though, it was like I fell hardcore the other way. I was like, no more manipulation, no more feeling bad about who I really am. I'm tired of lying about hiding who I am.
Okay, so speaking about hiding who you are and all that, a couple of things here, because it's going to lead into some other stuff, but is it possible, do you guys believe that everyone can do magic, and if everyone has that psychic potential and we just talk ourselves out of it and we become, well, in a weird way, conformist to a normal society, but what is normal?
Orlee?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well,
I'll let you say. I'll let you go on that first.
So I always like to quote Aleister Crowley, few are called, but many are chosen. So if you're called to this path, you can do it. Some people it's going to take longer than others because it's a muscle that can be developed, but there are people that never have that call. There are people that refuse to see. Like, we could be experiencing paranormal activity and someone like that could refuse to experience it because I believe that our subjective reality is so powerful that we can actually like cut ourselves off from those layers of experience. So I would say yes and no.
Okay, because when I was trying to be a normie, I would say that I went through the exact same thing. I had experienced, I can't even tell you how, well, my mom teases. She said I brought the paranormal with me. My mother had never seen anything, ever. And the first apparition she said was when I was like in my bassinet, teeny tiny thing, right? And she said she looks up and she sees a woman looking into my bassinet, and she turns around and smiles at me. And then it smiles at my mom and looks back down. Like, I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to see the baby. And my mom explains it to my dad later, and she's like, that was my mother. And her name, I was named after her. So I brought them with me by my mom, but when you're little, I think I was about 8 to 10 years old. I remember talking to a woman in the middle of the night that I had woke up and was looking at the clock and to see how much time I had to sleep because I was a little lazy child. And I looked at the clock to see, and there's a woman looking out the window, and I'm thinking it's my mom. I said, hey, Mom, what are you doing up? She wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't turn around. She wouldn't look at me. And at that moment, I realized I was seeing something I'm not supposed to see. And I'm like, I pulled the covers up over my head, and I nudged my sister. I said, Sissy, do you see that? And she said, yeah. I said, can you please call Mom? I'm the older sister. So it was like, oh, please. And so I kind of was frightened. And then when I told my family about it, they made it worse. So I was way more frightened up until I kind of just turned it off for the longest, or slowed it down. It was hard to turn off. But I remember after my divorce, and my ex was very abusive, and it was kind of like, I would say sometimes for some people, traumatic events, things that are just emotionally overwhelming will kickstart it. If you thought you had forgotten, it's like, when you get to start a lawnmower or something, it's a cranks it back up and it's wah, it goes full force, and there's no turning back. So you better learn to do something to at least protect yourself in a way, in some ways, if best you can. I'll say.
I completely agree with that. That's so interesting about your family experiencing apparitions around you. Did they witness any other kinds of strange things like while you were a child? Because my mom and dad told me that when I was born, my eyes were black. Like, not like completely black, but like the part that's a color, it was all black. And you can see it in like old pictures.
Right.
And then I had a full head of hair, and my eyes were black, and I used to sleep with my eyes open.
I sleep with my eyes open. That's funny. I sleep with my eyes open. Well,
I still do sometimes.
I still say, it depends. Sometimes. And no, because there was I remember it was I was this Carrie kid at a sleepover. Because it looks like I don't know. I guess you would say I'm little Reagan from The Exorcist. Why are her eyes still open? Because that's how I am. That's how I roll. Yeah, I did. I slept with my eyes open. When I was born, they thought, that I had cystic fibrosis. I was very different. I was real tiny, really tiny.
I was a whole month early.
Wow. Yeah. See, I was I laugh. And my birthday is really odd too. I was born on 6/28 at 6:28 a.m. Yeah, and I always laugh because it was the same day, because I love horror movies, but have you ever seen Rosemary's Baby?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. So she's if you listen, she's well, what is the due date? It's June 28th. I'm yes!
Oh, yes!
I was so excited. I'm
yes.
And the devil had the same birthday. Yeah. Yeah.
The singularity approves.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
So Angie just said that she actually saw a woman figure as a kid herself, and she says that the woman was watching her, and Angie thought it was her mom, and she ran towards her to give her a big fat hug. The woman disappeared.
Oh, wow.
See, that's traumatic. So, when you would have these, or how would you handle them when everybody's telling you, you're not supposed to see this, this is not okay. For me, it was if you tell anybody this, you're going to hell. And I'm okay, well, it's still there, so I guess I'm going. Yeah.
So my family is Jewish, and they don't believe in hell, but it was instilled that wasn't real, and I was dreaming. Anytime I would go run and tell my parents about what I had been experiencing in my room. So my way of dealing with this was I would, it was back when we had CD players, so I have a CD player with the headphones on and put my blankets over my head, and for years, every night, that's how I would sleep.
Oh my gosh, you're good. What's the movie, with, Bruce, is it Bruce Willis? Yeah. But that, I really liked that movie. Everybody teases, I see dead people, whatever. But they did really well with how those experiences can be, especially for a child. And they're trying to explain it, and then the adult's not there listening. And so, kind of like what you've done, what I've ended up having to do, you find what works for you to have some sort of control in your surroundings, in what's going on. You might not be able to stop it all, but you can definitely, it takes some give and take. Because I love the Crowley quote that you used there, because that's the truth. Some people are just, if it's a lot stronger around them, they're going to find a way to manage it, I guess I would say. Because otherwise, it's just, well, I've been told, God, if you were a goddess, you'd be Eris, the goddess of chaos, and so because I would get upset. I've literally had a friend over hanging out and got upset about just emotional, and I'm hearing this glass rattly, shaking, And I'm looking at because he's looking at something. He looks kind of panicked. And I look at what he's looking at, and it's my altar. I was emotionally reacting in my altar because it's the things that I charged because I'm using them constantly and, putting that kind of, I guess you'd say that psychic energy into these items. And so when I got a little over emotional, it just kind of, I guess you'd call it that vibration. There is an energy, there is vibration, and they are very real. It does sound like, peace, hippie stuff, but there is a reality behind all of it, for me.
Oh, absolutely. With that vibration, like when we look at ceremonial magic, things like vibrating the names of entities or whatever, like that's a great way, that's part of the ritual formula, putting that code into the universe through the sound.
Yes. No, I've had actually people say that music is, and I actually have thoughts and things that are coming to mind that I'm wanting to start working on. That's very interesting thing. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
what happened?
It was weird mic interference. That was odd.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
That's great. Who's in?
Hello.
Hi.
And
Hi,
who is behind door number 3?
Yes, there we go. Who's joining us? Who's our special guest tonight?
That's a good question. Actually, you know what? Bonnie, you mentioned goddess and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to lead to some stuff here.
Hmm.
I guess she's not technically a goddess, but Lilith. Orlee, on your channel, you speak about Lilith a bit. Do you have a connection with her?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the entities that I have worked with for the longest period of time. She has been one of those forces that has really protected me many times, and her energy is very misunderstood. A lot of people think that Lilith hates men, for example, which is, it's not the case at all. It's really just like any spirit. If you approach it with fear, you're going to get that kind of outcome from it. But Lilith has really helped me a lot to tap into that primeval current of energy, and her work with me has helped me to accomplish a lot of things, especially when it comes to working with energy, because she's kind of connected to like vampiric currents, also things like self-transformation, where I've really transformed myself through consuming, in metaphor, the essence of the tree of knowledge through ritual with her. And I think that we can look at Lilith more as a symbol of the enlightenment of humanity instead of as like a feminine corruptive force, where if we look at like Lucifer, for example, the light bearer, well, Lilith was in essence the original one by consuming that fruit. If we're looking at these stories from the Bible as metaphors for some kind of energetic structure of creation. And now I don't know that I wouldn't say that like all the things from the Bible are true or anything like that, but I do think that we make these things real as egregores because of the power that we have, and that these spirits, like in particular the spirit of Lilith, I categorize that as dark goddess energy, where that is like the night sky, the great deep. She has many forms. She can come through in Hecate, in Kali, in so many different ways. And Lilith is like a Judeo-Christian example of that, like that flavor, I think.
Yeah, she's kind of banned from my house, but that's a different story, which I might share more.
Yeah, and that's kind of my fault.
It is Bonnie's fault.
I'm so curious. You'll have to tell me another time, please.
Yeah, I know. Well, when you work with these, energies, it's like they do get to know the people that you are around, and they take interest, or and yeah, and they liked Melvin, or she liked Melvin, but I had several experiences with Lilith, and I had worked up with at that time when I first worked with her. I had worked with mainly it was pretty much just Belial at that point, and I didn't have a choice. And her, because Mel knows, I have done many, many, many paranormal investigations. I've been to the Zozo Demon House. I've been to Goatman's Bridge. I've gone to the Magnolia Hotel that's in Seguin, Texas, that is incredibly haunted, as well as the Sally House. I'm trying to think. I know I've been to, there's one I'm missing, but I've been to so many hardcore haunted places. And the only time, and with all the other demonic, the things that should be scary to work with, because I will say Belial's never made me frightened, not even in the least. Lilith, though, stopped me cold in my. I was in the Sally House walking up these stairs, and for some reason, it was like, I would like for some of us to get together, because I think it would be neat to go to the Sally House because of what I experienced here. I think that the house may have been used as a brass vessel.
Wow. Yeah, let's go.
Let's do this.
Wait,
And
you have to explain that. What is a brass
you want to
vessel?
go, Orlee, and kind of explain that?
Oh, sure. So we can look at an example in literature as the brass vessel that King Solomon used. So it's essentially a container that he put all the spirits of different demons inside to seal them up within there so they can't escape.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Now you got it, Mel. Yeah, because and she was not happy. It was like of course, it's just a piece of her energy, but I'm walking up these stairs, and and the last front crew that I work with, I stop, and he's right. The one investigator's right behind me. And because he knows that I'm just not usually scared or frightened. In fact, I'm usually messing with the more scaredy cat of the group. And I stopped dead in my tracks halfway up there, and I turned my head and looked into the room that supposedly the guy that lived there was thrown out of. And I look, and I said, I don't know about that one. I said, there's a female energy. At the time, I didn't know what it was. I said, there's a female energy, and she wants me down on my knees. And it was like this, and I realize now it was just a respect. You know what I mean? It was like, I think she was just kind of like, and she was trying to up the female empowerment. Because I can do the whole Rosie the Riveter type personality quite well, because I have been in so many different relationships where I've had to be tough, and I probably needed to be dropped down a bit. And I think that's what she was kind of doing. Like, she didn't want me to get that female empowerment so much so that it was ridiculous, and it was not for my best. You know what I mean? Because you can go overboard with anything. And I felt like that was kind of like, okay, quit being like this. Of all people, I'd say of all entities, it was Lilith that stopped, really kind of like helped me put a hold on that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I understand.
How you mentioned that.
I understand the intensity of Lilith. Like when I first started working with her seriously, it was because so I've been in a lot of relationships with people that are very, very serious about practicing magic. And so I was with this one guy, and he had a terrible experience with Lilith where he was working with Lilith before I knew him, and Lilith had wanted to conceive some kind of astral child with him, and he refused this. Yeah, so Lilith wanted that, and he said no. And so what's crazy is that Lilith made part of his reproductive organs mutate in a way where he had to have surgery. He had to become circumcised. And he was afflicted, he was afflicted with a medical condition that does not typically happen to adults. It's something that happens to children, where they'll have to perform that as a way to get rid of the symptoms of it. I'm not going to go into details of what it does on YouTube, but so he had to become circumcised right after working with Lilith and refusing to conceive a child with her, and it essentially it really messed him up. And then from that point on, he didn't ever want to work with her ever again. And so when I was approaching her, it was like to try to make peace with her in our lives, because I didn't want that kind of to interfere later on. So I initially approached her, I think, with very, very carefully.
Oh, yeah. No, I get it, because when you realize that you're fixing to step into a new energy that other people might have had bad experiences with, it's like, okay, hi.
Bonnie, you brought her to me.
I did. Well, she just liked Gmail.
I don't want my Johnson falling off.
I'm sorry. I love it.
I mean,
well,
great. Now, Orlee, congratulations. You properly freaked me out. So
that's my work here is done.
Yeah. There's other energies that we work with. So I mean,
this is like, this should be a PSA or something. Like, I mean, wow. Okay. Anyway, you talk.
That's like a lot. Sorry.
Like,
love it.
I legit had my mouth drop open, and okay.
Literally. Mel is our shy guy. He is. I've helped him. I'm so piratey that I'm sure my mouth has. I know he's blushed a few times, even if I can't see him always. He's like, he doesn't even have to respond to me, so no problems there. He's just he'll be okay.
I think he'll be okay.
Now, what would be for you the most intimidating, I would say, energy or entity that you've worked with?
Wow, that's a really good question. I would say the most intimidating energy ever that I worked with was the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse from the Enochian tablets.
That word.
Yeah. It was part of a series of rituals that were done every night for about 3 months to contact all of the entities in order to create like a talisman of information from all of them. And that was a really crazy period of time. Because it's angels, but they're honestly more frightening than any kind of demonic entity that I've ever come across.
I have had people say that.
Yeah, that's so interesting you say that, because not too long ago, Bonnie and I were talking about Enochian specifically, and how whatever they're bringing out, it's not exactly angelic. I mean, it could be, but then it can't be. I have my own theory to where it's something that is not only interdimensional, but a much higher plane of interdimensional being.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Melvin, because the Enochian angels are so powerful that even demons fear them, which is why Crowley would include the first 2 Enochian keys in his editions of the Goetia. And then also, like, regular angels, like archangels, for example, they're connected to Earth, but the Enochian angels are far beyond that.
Bonnie, didn't I say something like that to you with Raphael?
You did. It was very much because it's something that my experiences and, and some of Melvin's too, it's intertwined that it's come to, like the Enochian stuff is interesting to say the very least. I've listened to. Have you ever, like? Of course, I listen to a lot of things, but I've had sometimes I've put on like John Dee's the chanting and like. And it's like, I better be careful just having this on full blast just wherever, at my home or wherever. I might want to go somewhere that if I open something up, it's not going to be straight in my living room. Because, I can open. What's wrong?
I'm sorry, there's someone passing by and they decide to have some really doom 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 type music. And
Probably Ghost Main because of what I'm talking about.
I mean, what is happening?
No, have you ever listened? Have you noticed, or like Ghost Main actually has a song about John Dee, and you hear, if you listen in it, in the background of the music are the chants.
Oh, that's neat. I haven't heard that in particular, but like I've listened to recordings of them, and I've incorporated it into my magic like a lot. I actually have a gigantic tattoo of the Sigillium Day MF on my back, and I was just compelled to do it back in 2013, and ever since I did that, like I've never been the same.
Oh, really? Yeah. See, okay, that's very interesting because, several, and like your one you have your the Scarlet, Scarlet, okay, has been very. I've been drawn to it because number one, the Scarlet Woman, all that. In fact, I'll have to send it to you. I had just a piece. I was just burning some incense not about a couple of weeks ago, and I just because I do like scrying with smoke a lot. I love scrying with smoke. I love scrying with fire, and in my mirror. But I caught the number 93. I kid you not.
Wow.
And, yeah. Wow. It's like, wait, that's like, and I sent it to a friend. I said, tell me what you see here. And he's like, is that the number 93? I said, yeah, I think it is.
What's significant about 93?
So 93 is a magical number. It is essentially an abbreviation for a greeting that Aleister Crowley came up with, where every time you meet someone, say hello or say goodbye, you're supposed to give them the law, which is something he channeled from spirits in Egypt. And it's, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. So 93 is essentially an abbreviation for that. And there's also a formula utilizing the gematria where those phrases equate 93.
So basically, Mel, I was getting a greeting. Big one.
I'm
big
not
greeting.
surprised by this.
That's really cool because I'll actually I'll say that to the spirits when I invoke them, like to see what's up, to see if they're good or not.
Oh.
Like I'll give them the first half and I wait for that. Love is the law, love under will. If I hear that, then I know that they're nice. It's the thing I want to talk to.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I really love it.
Okay, so this is a strange question that I don't think there's any real answer for, but Orlee, and I have to also say this, it's so hard for me not to say Orlee. I want to say Orlee so badly, and I have been fighting it this entire time. But
I said it's Orlee.
That's when I first went to Georgia, like traveling with my family, that's what everyone was calling me.
Orlee.
I feel like that's the proper Southern way to say it.
Orlee.
But we have a habit of making things good guys, bad guys, and in terms of spiritual entities and even from a religious point of view, we tend to make what we call demonic entities the big bads, which I'm not so sure they are. I think everyone has their own personality, but what is a demon or a demonic entity?
Well, one main difference is that we can work with it's an entity that you can work with to have some kind of gain in your life in the material world. Typically, when we work with them, they'll grant us things like that in order for them to also experience reality through us. Whereas, like, working with angels or planetary spirits is more about our own personal evolution as opposed to something in the physical world. But the demons do that as well, and that's something that people don't really focus on. They really only focus on the material things, and I think that's why they've been categorized as being the bad, dark ones, because we can achieve things that give us power over the matrix, over the slave structure of our society. The demons can give us those powers, and that's why it's been demonized in essence, I think. But really, the demons are just the same types of spirits as any other entities. All entities can be extremely dangerous, and I think it's really like these spirits can give people so much power, and that's why they're called demons. Whereas the angels, like you can pray to them and ask them to help you, and maybe they will. Maybe they'll listen to you. But with the demons, like, you can ask them what they want in return for helping you, and if you do that, then they'll help you.
Now, I can't talk for demons, but I will say this. From what I understand, with the angelic presence, well, according to one anyway, a lot of times when we ask angels for help, it's not necessarily that they ignore us or don't. It's not necessarily that they ignore us. They actually don't hear us. Would you believe it if I told you quite a few of them actually were dead?
Wow. I would believe anything at this point.
Yeah, at this point, I'm with you.
I mean, it's a story to that, which honestly, it actually started with Bonnie and the Sally House and Beelzebub, and that's a story for another time that unfortunately you guys in the chat you're not gonna get. Womp womp. Come back another time and you will get it, just not tonight.
Yeah.
I was just working with Beelzebub too, Melvin.
Oh,
that is so crazy. I might have sent you the clip of what we're talking about. I'm telling you, this was at the Sally House too.
Wow.
I think it would be very interesting to get a bunch of us all there. Like if the kitty come in, like he was like, yeah, let's do this. Because I just, as a person that has gone and walked on different investigations and picked up things that I had no clue of, and I could pick up things that had happened in the past, I walked in there and I'm like, they use this as they try to trap something here so that they could almost. Okay, so like I've heard, I don't know which one of you guys from Become a Living On had mentioned it before, but it's like it's if you can dabble to the point that it's for just a common dabbler that isn't paying attention and is not really understanding what they're doing. You can make some really bad, negative things happen. And I think that's what happened in this home. And when I first got there, I remember the investigator going, well, there used to be these like etchings, these markings into the wood on the wall. And I'm going, oh, well, then I know I'm onto something with what, I'm picking up here, because like each door to each room had a different sigil.
Wow.
But they I guess tried to buff it, and I'm like, oh yeah, you can try now, but you've already got what you got now.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to trap spirits in places.
No, I don't either. I think that's yeah. Well, that's why the guy that lived there was getting, and they have it on camera at the Sally House. There's all kinds of different paranormal shows that have been there, but he's straight gotten through the scratches right on camera without, it just happening like there. And it was very interesting. I was, like I said, the only thing that I was frightened of was when because when I first come up on Lilith's energy, it was almost like a wall. Woof, and it stopped me. And my friend, he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No." I said, "I think I might be scared." He's like, "Shut up." I said, he goes, "Bonnie, you're shaking." I said, "Well, I feel like I'm supposed to just get down on my knees and be like, 'Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm good,' type thing." And so, yeah, this hint house is intense. I didn't want to go up in that room by myself. I'm normally not like that ever. And Melvin's watched me on different investigations. I've sat in the Zozo Demon house in a closet by myself for like 20 minutes and like kind of bored. But I didn't want to. I did go into the room by myself. I made myself do it. But it's kind of like it took me back to my childhood where I wanted to run up there and run back down, grab what I need, and be like, "Okay, we did this." I made myself walk, I will say. But yeah, Beelzebub's interesting as well. Very interesting. I've gotten response. Like, I'll just go a little bit, just on voice recorder.
Wow. Did you find that he was communicating to you with your dreams after?
It wasn't for me. It was the paranormal investigator that I worked with that had always had different experiences with Beelzebub. And he was Catholic, or is Catholic. And it does intimidate him. It makes him very frightened, but it's like Beelzebub's not let up. And and I said, "Okay, I want you to do this." And I handed him the inn. And I said, "Just say that until you feel like you need to stop." I didn't let him know that I was like, well, he kind of knew what we were doing. He was, but I didn't think he was really expecting it to work. And because we got, after the end, he did the end, and then, at the end of the end is Beelzebub. And right after he says it, he goes, "It's Beelzebub." You hear it, you have to put your headphones in, and you're hearing it, and you're like, "Yes!" I said, "Yes!" He responded, and then it was like, I know that I know my friend, and he was like nervous. He's like, he pulls out an Archangel Michael card, and I'm like, "Don't do that." I'm like, "Don't do that." And like, asking him kind of, "Don't stretch down, please." I said, and then, and I have it all on video, but this fly lands in front of me, and I'm going, "I didn't do this, yo. I didn't do it. You wanted me to get him to get, you were trying to get his attention. I've just been the messenger in between." But he puts this card down that was one of his little Catholic Archangel Michael, and he throws it. And he goes, "How do you like about that?" And you hear this, "I don't want it. I don't like it." And so, but, I didn't know it was responding to what he did until we played back this audio. But what I caught clear as day, because when I saw him throw that Michael card down, of course, I'm going to, because I don't want any interaction I have with Beelzebub or any of these entities to be negative. Kind of like you were real nice when you went in with your ex, how he was, you're just careful how you go about it. So I was like, "Can you tell us the real story of you and Michael and what happened?" And there is a audible response.
Wow.
I had to ask it. It's like, it was very much, you heard it, Mel, right?
I didn't hear it, but I know the story. So.
Yeah, because you did. Oh yeah, you wouldn't let me send it to you.
Yeah.
It went, "I killed him."
Wow.
And I'm like, I would rewind it and listen again. I'm like, yeah, that's what it's saying. Rewind, listen again. It's like, this is amazing. So it was very interesting because we were able to capture that. And he asked me, he wanted to get some evidence, and I think it was just a little bit overwhelming. He's like, "Okay, we're just going to stick back to haunted locations where it's like this little dead baby that's running around in the house." And I don't mean it in the negative sense, because this is really real.
Yeah, and it's like that kind of stuff. It's not going to be bound to that location. It's going to fall. It's not like the person that died in the house. Like it's like, okay, this is your life now.
Yes. So it's yeah. In fact, he went. I teased. It's like, are you mad at me? I was worried that he was mad. I said, you told me this is what you wanted, and he's like, I remember clearly. He's like, I don't think this is very. He said, I think I just did something really dumb. And I'm like, oh, that's just the Catholic in you talking, because it is he has only heard it one way. He's only experienced it one way, to where these things are negative. And when you were explaining that earlier, this is what makes sense to me. The reason that a lot of people in society look at them as negative is because they have been branded that. Why? Because, well, like Melvin's guest from last week, she used to be a Jehovah's Witness. She's a friend of mine, and the demons give you things that are worldly, which that's when religion wants to entrap people. We don't want them worldly, because they're going to want better. They're not want to sit around and be ignorant and blinded and misguided. That's what I feel anyway. It's just so.
Orlee, you said that Beelzebub will sometimes come to a person in their dreams.
Yes.
She said, it's so clear your face. Was it bad?
Yes. Well, with all the demonic gatekeepers, which is what we've been in. I work with Become a Living God, and we've been doing path workings with the 9 demonic gatekeepers. And what I found is that all of them will manifest through every aspect of your life. Like, you can't just be like, oh, this is the ritual, and then it's done, and that's that time. It's like, it's all the time. But with Beelzebub in particular, this is something that I finished writing about a few months ago. It's going to be in a book coming out next year, the beginning of the year. But Beelzebub started communicating to me through my dreams many years ago when I first started working with him. But in particular, it was helping me to communicate with the spirits of the dead in my dreams.
Now that makes sense with my friend that does the paranormal investigations, because he has some of the most vivid dreams. That makes sense. And that's why Beelzebub used me to be like, hey, say these words right here. I mean, in fact, this is what I had. And I said, hey, just read this out, say that. And I said, just say it if you feel content. And he did. And then he was frightened.
Okay.
I love him, though.
Now, that's interesting, too, because this is a few months back now, several months back. Bonnie, remember when all your visitors decide to visit me?
Yeah.
And, oh gosh, that was so weird. But anyway, the following day...
He said, Bonnie, why did you say so much energy at one time, Mel, huh?
It was either the following day or maybe even a week after that. But I'm not a person who dreams a lot or at all, really. And I had kind of a dream. It wasn't a dream. It was more like I don't know what you would call it, but I saw something while I was freaking sleeping. And it was 2 people, and it was a message for Bonnie, or they were apologizing to me on her behalf or something like that, because I get rightfully like, all right, this is too much, I can't take it. But it was Ashtaroth and Belial, and I remember what one of them looks like. I think it was Ashtaroth, and I remember him being a very tall guy. He was dark. Of course, this could just be my perception, and who knows? He might look like a frog, or he might look like a mouse. But how I saw him, he was tall, he was dark, he had a very rough face, almost Rocky-like, and but he was very respectful. It was so odd. Like he could wear a business suit or something and just be very respectful. It was the craziest thing, and it felt like they were apologizing. Have you ever had something like that, Orly?
Where spirits manifest like while I'm sleeping,
While
or
you're
like
sleeping and
apologize to
kind
me.
of apologize in an odd way.
I can't say I've ever had a spirit apologize to me. However, I have met spirits and entities while I'm asleep. I've actually, at one time, I woke up. This isn't a demon or angel, but like the ghost of a person from history. I was studying um, the magical diagrams of Moina Mathers, and she was one of the people that created the Golden Dawn. And so I was trying to figure out the sequence of colors in the Tree of Life in this one diagram that she had, and I didn't understand, and like I couldn't figure out any kind of pattern or anything. And then I woke up, and she was standing right over me, and she was a full body apparition, but in grayscale. And it was the morning, and it wasn't night, and so the room was, it was bright. Like I could see her clearly, and she was standing right next to me, and put her hand like gently and sweetly on the side of my face as I lay there in bed, and I wasn't afraid at all, which was weird because that would have disturbed me to some extent. But she just she just seemed so nice, and so like she put her hand on me, and then I had this flash of insight of this pattern that was in the diagram, and I did not have the diagram memorized. So the fact that she was like, okay, this color's here, this color's here, I got up immediately, and that's how I know that I wasn't dreaming. I got out of bed because she faded away, and then I went to the internet and looked at the diagram, and lo and behold, the pattern was there. And so,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and so it wasn't really an apology, but it was like she was showing me something while I was asleep.
Ah, well, that is a way to look at it too, Mel.
Well, what the heck would they be showing me? What, I mean,
There's okay, like sometimes they come at you. They're not okay. If you're thinking that they're all going, well, it's they have to. They might come at you hardcore, but they're not generally or typically going to come at you mean. They're going to try to get your attention. The only way is they know how to do it with each person. Any paranormal experience. That's why with myself. For some of them, it's easier for them to show me themselves. Some of it is they'll just give me pictures of something that's gone on or happened. But it's kind of the same way. If they know that they can get to you this way and you'll be paying attention and you're more, if you were asleep, you're going to be a lot more willing to pay attention.
yeah.
You're not going to shut it down.
Well, I will
So it
say,
doesn't mean they came at you calmly, because if they came at you mean, like you're going to wake up and freak yourself out. No, they want you to listen, so they're not going to come at you hardcore.
well, I will say that, like I said, it felt like an apology to me. Like it didn't feel bad or nothing, and for once, I wasn't freaking out or anything like that. But it was very interesting, and it's just one of those things. I'm not gonna forget this one, but I am gonna blame you, Bonnie. So,
That's okay. I'll take it.
um,
That's what. That's
okay,
what
so
I'm here for.
Orly, I've seen your art. It's really good, and I'm curious, and I'm about to show some of your work right now on stream. What inspires you to create your art? Where does it come from?
Thank you. So my art primarily comes from insights that the spirits want me to communicate to people. So typically, the process that I will go through is I will just stare at the blank canvas, and then see what wants to be communicated to me, and then pull that out of my mind and bring it into reality. And a lot of them, though, come from experiences that I've had in altered states of consciousness or in the underworld, or visions that I've had like in meditation, um, dreams and things like that.
Okay, and how long does it take for you to do a piece, or do you just do multiple at once?
It varies. Like sometimes if I'm really going at it, I'll do a bunch at the same time. But the way that I paint them, it takes a lot of layers. So I'll usually be able to work on a painting for maybe 2 hours, and then I have to wait for it to dry. And so if I'm really on a roll, I'll do a whole bunch simultaneously. Or if I'm nowadays, I have a lot of other artistic projects that I do, so it's usually just one at a time.
Okay, and
Uh,
you're already getting compliments, by the way.
Oh,
So
thank you. I just pulled the stream up so I can see. So yeah, that one, that cat one, the three cats. What's crazy about that is that JD Temple and I actually used to have all three of those cats, and I painted that painting years before, and it looked like the cats. It looked exactly like all three of them.
well,
that's really
it's on the
interesting.
slideshow, so you can know. So it's just yeah.
Oh wow! Yes, I was telling him, I was like, "You gotta see her artwork." Like, I'm telling you, it's amazing. And he was like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, "She's like you," and and I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Wait, yeah, because I know he's getting at that we're definitely of a different breed.
Different show, Bonnie. Different show. Save it for later.
We'll save it. Oh,
Oh, that one, that's Azazel. That was like in that one, I did it during a magical ritual.
Oh.
And Joshua Despain, he's actually saying he wants to buy one.
Oh, thank you.
I told you. Yay.
Like, he says he seriously wants to buy one, so.
Okay, well, I have a website. It's motherofabominations.com.
I'll put that link in the chat.
Sure, you know what, I can even do it.
Hey,
Yeah.
Orlee, I have to talk to you later about it. But there's a, is Joshua Despain, JD. And I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
There's just some weird connectioning. Always. You know how when you start dealing more and more with magic and the magical community and stuff, it's just like synchronicities and oddities and just weird stuff happening, like almost. I want to start journaling some of the just weird coincidences with different people that I feel drawn to for whatever reason. Like just even like my Ouija board, you were like, who has that? You said JD has one just like it. Mm-hmm. How odd is that? Because these are the old, what is his name? I can't say it. The real original boards, and they're pricey. And yours was given to him, his was given to him, and mine was given to me. And they're very expensive. They're very expensive boards. They're collectors.
Yeah, that's
so I don't mind. I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind taking whatever comes with the board. I'll say that. I'll take care of it. I'll charm it.
And I also have a Ouija board that was given to me by someone. A really sweet viewer sent me this one, so it's cool because we both have Ouija boards behind us.
And I love them. Well, it's like you bring the spirit. It's almost like unknown. People consider them a portal, I've seen some really strange things happen on a Ouija board that nobody else in the room had any idea. And I'm like, no, I can prove this later, but I can't believe it. I spelled backward. I've been on the Ouija board, and actually, the person that was working the board with me, it took me a minute to realize it was backwards. We were writing backwards, a backwards word, or what is it called when you flip the word around and it's actually, but it was just backwards. Anyway, I can't remember. It was like no gods or something. It was very clear. So I know who that was. No gods. I mean, it sounded very much Belial. But she, number one, she was more religious, and she was.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't know what he's swatting at. Whatever. He's swatting at. My cat's attacking something that I can't even see. I did feel a cool and there's one energy that I work with that I will say he's kind of like a breeze almost. It's not like just a cold spot. No, it's a more of a, you feel it. You know what I mean? Like air. You got something going on.
Yeah, I felt like something was in the doorway, but nothing was there.
I'm telling you, well, it's getting, that time. But no, it's, yeah, sorry, my kitty cat weirded out. It's okay, boo-boo. It's okay, boo-boo. You always want to do this anyway. I've got pictures of him that I love he's like looking in the scrying mirror. And I thought that was absolutely one of my favorite pictures I've ever had of him. Of course, he will also, because it's energy, right? If I put a board down and I'm not using it, he will lay on it and ball up and walk. I swear it's because there is an energy connected to it and they can feel it. And he wants to lay on top of it. I have pictures of him doing it. It was just like, to me, I'm like, odd that he has to, like, everything else in here and he wants on that.
Wow.
Try laying yours down one day and watch and see if your cats are drawing.
Oh, I'll bet they will. They'll lay in the middle of my magical circle all the time. They just...
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, though. See, I'm telling you, there is something to it. Mm-hmm. They're drawn to it because it is, if you think about it, magnets, they either will push each other away or, there is an explanation. It's just so hard and complex, though, that a lot of things are just kind of labeled as metaphysics instead of, like, actual science. My take. It's too hard. It is a lot of stuff to try to answer.
Okay, so this has nothing to do with anything, but it just popped in my head, and Bonnie's having a laugh. But, Orlee, out of curiosity, are you and JD planning any more kitchen cooking videos?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So what happened is that we moved, and so we've still just been getting set up at our new place. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly has nothing to do with anything, but it hit me real quick, and I wanted to ask that because I really like them.
Well, by the way, I wanted to ask about that because JD had put up some slides of the house, right? How is that going? Is it interesting there?
Oh yeah, it's a weird
camera,
place.
please.
Oh, he gets so worried. He gets scared.
Oh yeah, we won't. Nope.
Well, no, nothing's gonna walk past her, Melvin.
No. I'm talking about what you have in your hand right now that I don't want on camera.
Oh, it's not. Oh, my bad. Seriously, it's.
Yeah.
He said, "It's yeah."
I'm sorry, Orlee. I didn't mean to cut you off like that.
Oh, that's okay.
No, he's like, I'm like, chunk it. No, I was actually also going to say, have y'all had many experiences? I would say start writing them down. I'm just curious because ever since he posted those, there's a couple of rooms that have there was one that was kind of had I can't remember. It was I wanted to call it the red room for some reason. Even there's some of the rooms in that house that are just very
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the video of the house that he posted?
I think it was the video. It might have been the video. He had posted some pictures of it before y'all moved in, actually.
Oh, the pictures. Yes, that's what. Yeah, because the pictures. Yes, it's weird. It's weird. Yeah, it's a weird house.
I like it though. It's beautiful. Y'all enjoying it?
It's weird. Yes. Yeah. So he dug up some weird, cool stuff in the yard because he's been landscaping it, like weird pieces of metal. It's probably, yeah.
That's so cool, though, with the old houses and all the freaking energy. When it comes to your art, I think one of my favorites, and it's like the beam of light that hits the tummy of the woman, like she's laid back. Where did that come from?
That was a commission that my friend Tasha Minari wanted of a person essentially having sex with a spirit.
Okay. Okay, I like that. Okay, that's very neat. And so she just said what she wanted, and you were able to I guess, channel that in a way?
Yeah, a lot of
freaking awesome.
Thank you. A lot of my work is it's either something like spirit driven through me, or people will have a dream or a vision, and then I'll create that for them. Kind of like essentially I'm creating a portal for that spirit to be able to come through.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Yes, I love that because, well, I mean, there's so many things that it makes me like, I need to message you about a lot of things afterward because there are so many. What I think is really neat is we both do tarot, and like the other day when you were doing your stream, I was like, hey, because, you were talking about how hard sometimes it is you have to be brutally blunt, and just because like somebody gets a tower card or something like that, they're gonna flip to freak out. And I was talking, and it was when you put the tower card next to what card was it, Mel?
The world.
Your first thought is my world's going to like crash down and burn and everything's. And that's your first thought, though, especially when you've gone through really bad things. And then, you were talking about you have to look at the whole situation of a spread as to how you're going to go with it, right? Like, I guess you'd say, like, if there's other cards insinuating, hey, no, you're taking this whole situation on. You need to make a new world, a new, take a different, don't always take the tower approach, or it's just that you're having a tower moment. And it's very weird because you were talking about that. Have you ever worked on making your own deck? Because I've also thought about doing that, or at least maybe even oracle cards, but art is about my art. I did do art, and it was my old teacher she thought I was good. I didn't. There was some stuff that I actually looked back about a month and a half ago, and I was like, I wasn't horrid, but I am not by far, but I'm not putting my stuff up. I'm like, no, that's like putting up a stick figure next to somebody that is like, the like Monet, Monet did more, or like landscape, but like, you know what I mean? You see where I'm going with it. You can actually draw face. You can kind of, you can tell it's human-ish, even when it's not completely human. Mine don't. I can draw a crooked stick figure, no joke. But I do have, like, it is like what I'm wanting to be drawn, because what I'm trying to do with what would be like more oracle cards. Because I do feel like there's messages, but it's like me trying to draw it and put it on paper is just not going to ever happen.
I've done here and there. I've done different cards like as paintings, but I've never sat down to do the whole deck. It takes me so long to do it. It would probably take like many years for me to actually do that. But eventually, that would be cool to do like an oracle deck or something like that.
I think, because yours are very, I'm saying your artwork is something like, there's certain ones. One of my favorite is the Deviant Moon. Have you seen the Deviant Moon? The
film?
No, it's Deviant. What is it? The Deviant Moon tarot cards. Oh.
I'm not sure. I'll have to check those out. And also, hold on one moment. I'll be right back.
Okay. Mel, those are the cards that you like that have the it's also layered artwork as well. It's the one with
them. Benny has them.
You think they're creepy? Oh, you see? Yeah, you're right. He does. You don't like them though, do you?
Oh no, I like them. They remind me of
they're
the Nightmare
creepy.
Before Christmas. But I do like them.
I love them. I don't pull them out honestly always. It's usually when I use them. You see, if you know how I am, when I do a reading for someone, I have to pull the right deck.
Hey.
Uh-oh, yeah, right.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just I've drank so much coffee that I needed to use the washroom.
Hey, it's okay. That is cute. Wait, see, is that okay? Down here in the south, it's a bathroom. Bathroom, girl. It's a bathroom.
In Canada, the washroom, I believe, is a Canadian.
Is it? Okay, it's Canadian. Yeah, I love my friend. I have a friend that she's from Canada as well, and I was like, you just have to. I want to hear it because she's got the hardcore accent, and it's so cute. And I'm like, I don't want to talk. I wanted to hear your voice because like my Texas accent is like, I don't care for it. But to me, I love hers. It's just very sweet, very kind, very warm and comforting. To me, always any of my Canadian friends, they just, I don't know, and I'm sorry, it is probably the one stereotype that's true. I've not met anybody mean personally myself from Canada. And I don't think that's a bad stereotype though either. That nice people are from Canada.
Well, I
Oh
had my
yeah.
heart broken by a Canadian.
Oh,
That's that cold Canadian heart.
Yeah.
oh,
So,
He
Dylan,
said,
no,
"I
I
don't love
didn't.
you, eh?" So.
A. He said A.
I lived in California for 2 years, so a lot of the accent got people
Oh,
about it, so I kind of assimilated a little bit. But
oh, you had to add that Californian. See, and that's where Mel's from. He's from California.
oh,
Yeah.
that's
So,
awesome.
what part did you live?
I lived in Sacramento, and then I lived in Grass Valley.
Okay,
Okay.
so you
Yeah.
were up north, super north.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I think my worst, or not worst, my weirdest experience, and Mel remembers when I got on the BART, the train system there, and I thought I was going to die at least 3 times on my first train ride ever, and because the first thing I get on there and I see is a guy that evidently had I would say it was near overdose on heroin because he wasn't moving. His baggie was laying right next to him, going. And people were so cold blooded. They were walking up and like not moving or shaking him or trying to help assist him at all. They were taking their feet and kind of like wiggling him. I'm like, I finally went over. I said, "Y'all back up." I was like, and I'm going because I'm like, I don't want to touch him, because he had his. I didn't want to be where anything could think that I grabbed his stash or I was like, I am not in my own state. I don't want to get picked up by the police and have to try to, because bad things happen to people trying to honestly help, and I've seen too many of it, too many times that bad things like that will happen. So I'm kind of like, I put my hand. I was like trying to feel for a pulse, and I wasn't feeling anything. Looking at his back, and I'm going, "This isn't good. Somebody needs to call." I was like, "How do you get a hold of the police on this bus?" Because we're literally going through, still just flying through, and then we'd stop, and people would get off, and other people would get on, and everybody's just still looking at this dude, nothing. And I'm like, he hasn't moved in 15 minutes. I couldn't see him breathe. So yeah, that was interesting.
Well,
Scared this little girl.
apparently, if you want them to come, eat a sandwich. So,
Huh?
don't worry, it's a news story. That's
Oh.
that's my little
No,
dig at Bart Cops.
Bart. Oh man, yeah, that wasn't the Bart. I don't. That's my least favorite part of going to California. Is like when I would go to my friends, I'd have to ride the BART to his area, and that always felt really. That's when I felt my most unsafe. It was like frightened at times. So did you have like? I really wanted to pull up that real witchy vibe and like scare other people way far from me at that moment. I'm not gonna lie.
You know what?
So, yeah. I used to live in Toronto, and it's a huge city, and I would take the public transit everywhere, and I would just like try to make myself as weird as possible to frighten people away. Yeah.
Now this is going to something a bit serious, and part of this is something I've always wondered about. But a lot of folks who I think anyway, this is just based off observation, but a lot of people who seem to get into the occult and magic, all that stuff, they tend to have a past, like something not nice has happened to them, whether it be bullying, some prick decide to attack them in some way, and it created a type of isolation and all that. And well, before I get right into it, Orly, do you feel that you have spirit guides and something like that?
Yes.
Okay, so with spirit guides or spirits in general, whether they be demonic, angelic, super interdimensional, I don't know. Why is it that it seems like they can't help us on this physical plane when something bad is about to occur?
I think they can.
So, is it a choice not to interfere?
I think it's difficult for us to hear them at certain times.
Mm.
Like, I think that if you're really, really, really tapped in, they will tell you and stop it, but that's such an extremely difficult state to get into.
Yes, I agree. Mel knows the story of where mine has only time it's ever happened at once, and I was in a situation I knew I was not supposed to be in, but my cousin who was having issues with addiction, I was trying to get him out of where he was at, and like an addict will do at the height of their issue. Was on their personal. The time it was just like taking too long, and I'm like, you have to hurry up, dude. All right, cuz I said, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Like I don't like the vibe of this place at all. We're not okay. I said, dude, I'm fixing to have to leave and go without you, and I didn't want to, and I'm sitting waiting and waiting. And I sit down by the sketchy guy next and just not saying anything at this table. And this dude, his reactions, what really kind of scared me, because he ran to my cousin. He said, "Yo, your cousin's." It scares me because I'm sitting here like this, and my head, it's like something pops me in the back of my head, physically, to where my head bounces. This guy, you hear his chair go, "Skirk," and he's out, and he's going telling my cousin, "Yo, your cousin scared me. I'm gone." But it was because I kept staying. I refused to leave him. And I was already told later that night he had his gun stolen from him and actually, turned. And my guides was like, get your ass out. He's like, no. At this point, this is his experience. You can't make him. And it was like, pop. I'm like, all right, finally, after that, it wasn't much longer, I left. But it took that. So, yeah, I think they can try to get our attention. I think sometimes if they think it's something that we need to handle or we need experience, they might back away.
I agree, because we need to have some kind of ordeals in order for us to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that makes sense to me. And let's see, we are going a little bit over, and that's only because of that weird stream crash, which I still can't explain. So we're gonna start closing it up. But Orly, are there any entities that you will not speak with? You don't want to be in their presence, and you're just like, no.
I don't think so.
Oh,
I'm
really?
I can't think of any entity that I wouldn't want to work with. I even like Jesus.
Hey, Jesus is
Yeah,
the man. So,
yeah, I like a little of everything.
Yeah, I like that.
what about you, Bonnie?
Melvin. No, nothing really intimidates me. Like I'll say, the one that only did, it was just the intensity of how her presence was Lilith, and it was. It takes a lot to scare me when it comes to things paranormal or as such. Humans scare me more than anything. Living, breathing people that can be horrid to another living human being. So those probably bother me the most, honestly.
I feel you on that, Bonnie. And you know what? I actually do have a spirit that I've never wanted to work with. Now that I think of it, it's Belphegor, because Belphegor is like a spirit that of like sloth, essentially. And I'm such a workaholic that I think I don't want to bring that into my life.
You're like, I don't want the sloth. That's very funny, because, okay, where is the sloth energy coming from then? Because I don't know. I just remembered a dream I had last night. and it was like we were talking about. It was not. We were talking about spirit guides. It's like, what do you think your spirit guide is? And we were all saying, and I said that JD's was a sloth.
Wow.
And I'm not playing when you said he is. And I went, whoa, wait. You don't want to bring that into your life. And now it's just like everything hit me. I'm going, wait, I remember this. And I don't ever remember my dream. So that was very strange. Because it was like, well, it was just such a weird dream. We were talking about, I think JD has a sloth as his spirit animal.
Well, he does like relaxing and chilling.
I've never even...
Sloths are pretty cool.
I need to Google what that would be because I wouldn't know. Honestly,
they're very
laid back.
Like I could see. Well, like I think the sloth is something that's like very unassuming, right? Like people would think, oh, it's like it's all chill and laid back, but through that process, it has the time to think about everything so carefully, and that's kind of an advantage in a way. But the whole Belphegor thing is interesting because he's making this amazing sculpture right now in our living room. And I think he made a joke about it being Belphegor, but I don't think it's supposed to be him. But just in general, because like, that's what he's been working on every night.
Then maybe it is. Then maybe the sloth energy is true to what his spirit, his animal or that energy is at this moment that he is having to learn to. Because JD is a lot like myself. We're very... I don't know how you feel, we're hyper as hell, and it's sometimes that kind of energy all the time can be overwhelming to a person because you're more laid back and just like, whatever, I'm chill. He's listen to Melvin laugh because you are like we are all three little strange oddballs, and that's fine, and that's who we are, and we've owned it, and in fact we kind of love ourselves about that now, and that's what I love about y'all's personalities as well. But with mine and JD's I think JD's even more hyper than me, and I start laughing because I'm like, but I can feel it. I'm like, this is what I do to people. I stress them out because I am just, hey, come at you like this. But maybe he's needing more chill, and maybe this is his sloth time. I don't know. It was just very weird that I had that, and I very much because I said it as a joke in the dream. His is a sloth.
That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
And somebody, it might have been you. Somebody had a porcupine. Weird animals. Yeah, it was really strange. It was not dog, or it was not the eagle. It was not.
Yeah, that's so atypical of what you would think of.
A porcupine and a sloth.
I wonder what the spirit animal significance of those creatures are.
I know. It makes me definitely want. Well, if you want a porcupine, will self-protect. I mean, it's like its whole being is made to protect itself. Okay, my friend is actually, and that's where I got I get all some of my cool bones and stuff, but he's a taxidermist. And I said, have you ever done a porcupine? And I'd asked him this a while back, and he was like, yeah. He said, and those suckers can hurt you. I said, you mean even after they're dead? He said, oh, yeah. So they're still able to protect themselves after they're dead. That's pretty interesting to me. That was like, like, so they can, like, their quills will still affect and hurt. Yeah, so you have to be careful when handling them, even as a taxidermist. You have to, like, definitely wear your thick gloves.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was very weird, that dream. And then you mentioning Belphegor's energy. And it's because of your own worth ethic, and you feel like it would compromise it, I guess?
Yeah, because I have to work constantly, because everything I do takes so much time. So I think I'm afraid of slowing down.
Yeah, I get that.
Well,
yeah.
On the flip side, this is my lazy butt talking now. On the flip
He's
side,
a Taurus.
it could also mean that, it's all right to slow down from time to time. Don't work yourself into an early grave.
Oh, I've been told. My friend Lauren just like literally said that to me in a tarot reading like a week ago.
Oh wow!
So yeah, that's super right.
All right, so
that's cool.
Don't call me Mr. Cleo, but
I love it. No, that's a good way to look at it, though, Mel. I've trained you well. I trade you well, grasshopper.
Okay, so final thing, and I always ask everyone this who's more aware with the spiritual stuff. Bonnie, I asked you, so you're not getting a repeat, but Orly, you are getting this one. And that is, what would you say to people who are perhaps awakening their spiritual side more and they're being visited by different um, demonic entities or even angelic entities? Just something that isn't physical and they're coming by because they're attracted to them. What would you say to them? What advice do you have?
My best advice is to not allow yourself to feel afraid when you're having those experiences, because it will just make it worse in terms of being scary for you. So try to approach things with an open mind and an open heart, and don't try to categorize things. Don't try to feel like you know what it is and allow it to show you what it is.
Mel, how close was that to what I said?
It's pretty freaking close. So evidently I
Exactly.
better start listening to everyone when they say this. So but
Hmm.
yeah, I think this is a good spot to end it. Orly, where can people find you and I guess in Joshua's case buy some of your art?
Sure. So my art is available on my website, motherofabominations.com. And all of my magical services and the classes that I teach on tarot and demonology, those are at becomealivinggod.com/Orlee Stewart. And then I also have a YouTube channel that's just my name, Orlee Stewart.
Okay, and probably after I edit everything, those links will be in the description below. Bonnie, what about you?
Okay, on Facebook, it is Bonnie Woodruff, and I see I do have it under Bonnie Woodruff under on Twitter as well, and Instagram at Texas_Gypsy_Warrior.
Yeah, the
So,
Instagram
and
is
that's
so
just
confusing.
it's a yeah. He didn't have Instagram for the longest, so he's just now getting it, and it's very very funny. Um, he was I don't know. I guess he didn't want to. I guess that was too Kardashian of you to do it to do the Instagram. But I like it because sometimes it's just a quick snap of what's going on. Um, you know, and I think that's how like a lot of us. It's like I think it was some of well, I met you Orly through JD, but um, your social media, you were it was very neat because you stood out as very different but yet very kindred. So yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So speaking of Instagram, you guys, yeah, that's right. Unexplained Possibilities has an Instagram account now. I don't run it though. Angie K runs it, and if you guys can give her a big hand because she does the graphics and she does
Yay!
the Facebook stuff, and I mean she kicks butt, and I can't
Oh,
do
she has
anything
some
for her.
It's
good memes.
awesome.
I love her memes. She leaves some good memes.
So, yes, don't forget to follow Unexplained Possibilities on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Imager, whatever it's called. And also, if you want to take us on the go, you can because we are now on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, if you can believe it or not. So, yeah, we're going places, people, and come along with us. Ooh, I like that. I might keep that in for a closing line. um,
I like it.
so, with all that said, Orly, thank you again for coming on. Bonnie, you're always welcomed here.
Thank you all so
Yeah,
much.
thanks.
And remember, guys, there are things that go bump in the night. Go ahead and tell them hi. Bye, everybody.